But, you would think that they don't want the kids to bring these things to school. There's one less thing they're going to get robbed for. Exactly. That's one less thing that they're going to be paying attention to their fucking schoolwork with, because here you think they're doing their schoolwork on the iPad, but they're playing their Fortnites and shit like that. They're on their Facebook or they're IGing or Snapchatting.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Pornhubbing.
Yeah, Pornhubbing at 12. Man, imagine we had the internet back in the day, man, growing up. Ooh, if I had the internet when I was growing up, man. I would never busted a nut to Barbara Eden. Shout out to I Dream of Jeannie for anybody that doesn't know who Barbara Eden is. Man. You wait for that. You were sitting home waiting for that one moment when Mary Ann would pop up on fucking Gilligan's Island. You're like, all right, it's my time. I'm ready. Rub this out real quick.
Right, what's up, everybody? HarikenBx here, and welcome back to Verbally Challenged. Got a couple of guests here with me today, and let's say what's up. First up, Frogman78. What's happening, Pop?
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for having me on today, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. You're very welcome, man. Thank you for joining me. All right, next up, making his very first appearance here on Verbally Challenged, I got the one and only Dustmightz.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Might be my first and last appearance. I don't know. Let's see what happens tonight. You let me back. So there is sometimes I could be verbally challenged. Killed, but the words do get a little challenging, a little slurring.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'll join you there. I'm having a few drinks here myself, so don't worry about it. We're going to be nice and toasty.
The vacation tour.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're doing the podcast tour. How is vacation going so far?
Very uneventful, other than my nights have been very eventful because, I've been doing a bunch of podcasting shows and hangouts with the realm and, chilling out. And so my evenings have been eventful, and my daytime has been a lot of couch time and a lot of TV, catching up on movies and just chilling, relaxing. Staycation is what it's supposed to be. You stay put.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. That's what it's all about. When you're
Frogman, you said today, keep the tempo, slow the tempo. Slow and low is the tempo.
Yeah, man.
Throw some Beastie Boy lyrics in there.
Man.
Nice, man. Nice. That's what it's supposed to be, relaxing. I've been still enjoying vacation as well. I go back. Well, by the time this gets published, I'll be going back tomorrow because this goes out on Monday. So I know Monday night I'm going to be fucking crying and dreading it. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. A nice, 2+ weeks off. I can't really complain.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks. That's nice.
After 2 weeks, man, it is kind of rough to get back in the groove, bro.
I took 2 weeks off. The fucking place will burn down.
Oh, shit.
It won't be worth going back because I would have to fix everything, So sometimes it's just not worth it to take that much time off. But
yeah,
I go back Monday myself, but I'm off Tuesday. So at least I go back for a day and then I could chill out for a day afterwards.
Oh, okay. So you also go back a day, off a day.
Yeah,
and then
I get my regular days off for Tuesday.
Then back on the grind. Okay, I hear you. And the same thing, dude. That's what I'm actually dreading because I enjoy my work. It's not the work that kills me, but my coverage isn't the greatest. So I'm gonna go back to a mess, and it's probably gonna take me a week and a half probably to clean it all up by the time all is said.
Well, I'm in a new store now, so I got a pretty decent team, but I don't know what I'm gonna be walking into. Who's gonna be quitting? Who's not there no more? Who got fired? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Who called out? So you never know what you go back to, and usually the day back is it goes so fast because your head's spinning because you're catching up with this, you're hearing about that, this one's talking about this one's complaining about that, you're getting your ass chewed out for something from the uppers when you weren't even there, so
that's right. You're in a new place, so you're not even, you're still learning like the new employees that are there that you're working with and their cadences, so you don't know, like, basically
it's all a new team, and we're a very small team whatsoever as it is, and we had our regular night crew guy, he's been out for a month, he had gallbladder surgery, so things have just been, I've been picking up a lot of the slack with the team, because the engine's not going on all cylinders right now, so what you have to do is just get in there and get your hands dirty and try to make it happen, Yeah. This is the time you do realize that, in a retail environment, your night crew is your backbone. Your night crew sets the tempo. So always treat your night crew right, you know, and they'll treat you right, you know. Just unfortunately right now, our night crew is not 100% because of the guy is out for like 6 to 8 weeks, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I got there, he left. Like, boy, they were joking with me. Boy, you're just making them all go quit, right? They're all leaving. Get out of here, man. All I did was change one thing.
I know the store you were at. Sometimes I know you'd get in there like very early, so you'd kind of be overseeing the night crew and helping like them get the things ready for like the day stuff. Have you had the opportunity to do that here at the new place?
I don't have to do it. There was no reason to do it. You know, over there, I had to do it because it was a different circumstance during the day. My store is a busier store, but we don't have in this store what we had in the other store, which was the shop at home program, where people do the internet shopping, we pick their orders, and then we deliver. So it's more of a demanding store that way, where you have to make sure your shelves are 100% in the morning, just so these shoppers could pick and deliver. You know.
Yeah.
So it was a different type of flow. So yeah, so it's like I'm no stranger to night crew problems. You know what I mean? Because my last store, there were some night crew issues too, constant call outs and no shows and shit like that. But it's good not have to get up 3 a.m. anymore to go in at 5.
It's a good thing. Get to sleep a little bit late. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's finding a life balance, you know.
Does your schedule fluctuate much there? Like now, like do the hours differ?
It's pretty much straightforward. It's pretty much the same straight through. And because I set that pretty much, and then certain like my days off are set, and then my closing is now set. But now we're having staffing issues, so sometimes my closing will shift from say Thursday to sometimes I have to close on a Saturday to help out and stuff like that. So
all right,
because the store is down management also. So it's everybody's picking up the slack, man. The new direction.
Yeah, well, you're used to doing that as like the manager anyway, like helping out the other members of your team when they need it.
You have to be there for them, man. You can't manage a team from sitting upstairs in an office. Yeah. That's a boss, I don't want to be a boss. I'm a leader, There's a big difference.
There definitely is. All right. And Frogman, how you been, man? It's been a couple of weeks since you've been on the show. How's things going with you?
Oh, pretty good, man. Things at work have been pretty okay. Nothing I can't handle. The typical construction stuff. Personal life is just, I'm here, man, at home doing what I got to do here, keeping things together and paying the bills, and that's it, man. And just hanging out with the realm, brother. That's about it.
Right. Yep. That's what I did this morning, man. I, been on vacation, but today was payday for me and Jesse. And then I told her, I was like, easy come, easy go. You get paid, dude. And then you just pay some bills. And it's like,
I forgot yesterday I had to make my car payment. I was like, this morning, I was like, fuck. Let me get that in there real quick before he slapped that $30 charge on me,
Dude, no shit, man. Yeah, man, you get paid, and a few days later, it's fucking gone, dude. And you're like, fuck.
That's it.
But there is one paycheck during the month I get to keep all to myself, and I look forward to that one. And that one's this payday that's coming up. So
that's the one thing about with this new store is I get a lot more OT. So all this overtime money is just going right into the hobby. I'm paying bills and trying to get my car paid off sooner, and I have more funds available for the hobby, but there's nothing out there I really want. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna put the money away and get TFCon paid off.
There you go.
Yeah, you can put it towards other things that are coming up.
Get the ticket paid off, get my room paid off, and just that's it. When the time comes around, I'm not trying to scroll some money together for that or throwing it on a credit card.
When you're done, man, you're paid off, you're ready to go, man. Just have a good time.
It's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. Yeah. All right. Well, over the past weekend, we had a new Marvel Studios film come out, which was Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know, a couple of weeks ago, we were planning on previewing the movie, and we did a little bit. The panel got a quick chance to talk about it before the conversation veered off into the Transformers films and franchise, just like in general. But Ant-Man and the Wasp just came out, and we all got the opportunity to see it. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the movie compared to the other two films that Marvel Studios had put out previously this year, Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. Obviously, huge successes. Black Panther currently standing at just over 700 million at the domestic box office. it's at actually over 1 billion worldwide. So that's quite a number right there. Avengers Infinity War, not too far behind it as far as the domestic gross. It's sitting at $675+ million, which is nothing to sneeze at. And its worldwide gross is also over $1 billion. Actually, looking at the latest number as of yesterday, over $2 billion worldwide, which is just insane when you think about it. I think right now, it's, the number one superhero movie of all time. So this film had a lot to live up to. In my opinion, it definitely, I don't think it could have lived up to those previous. But what do you guys think? I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think that it's just a filler episode, filler movie. I'm sorry. Of course, a lot of people aren't going to like it, like Infinity War, Black Panther. Yeah. It's not on that level, but it's just another little piece of Infinity War that you get to see, that we were also focused on Thanos and all that, and then there was another story happening in the background, with Ant-Man and everything. So that's pretty cool, man. I like the way it played out. It was a good movie.
To me, it wasn't a 4th of July release for me. It wasn't something that I thought that should have been put out around the 4th. You want something bigger. Like, I know it's going in the continuum of their movies, but I think Infinity War would have knocked it out of the park being released in 4th of July. But I know with what they want to release and the content that's in the movies, with me, it seemed more like it wasn't Ant-Man and Wasp, it was Wasp and Ant-Man.
True. Yes. Yeah.
It was like,
exactly right.
To me, it was like them testing the waters to see if a female lead could do well in a Marvel movie.
She did good, dude.
So because they're trying to get ready to test the waters like this with the Marvel, the Captain Marvel movie and shit like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. This is just my opinion. He just played a back seat. He was just like womp womp da 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 the whole fucking movie.
He was in timeout, bro.
Yeah. Like his suit was always fucking up. Like he was the comedy relief, and it was all centered around, the Wasp was kicking some major ass, and but I don't know. I was hyped for the movie until I saw the second trailer. Once I saw the second trailer, I was like, maybe not digging this too much villain wise. But then the way it all came together, I thought was pretty cool. Lawrence Fishburne being in it and being Goliath. Thought that was fucking incredible.
That was cool, dude.
Cool.
And how his arc came about with that. But yeah, I mean, overall wise, man, the hype wasn't there for me. But then again, the hype wasn't there for the first Ant-Man until after I saw it, and I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was way different and them in a different lane. With what we were used to at the time for superhero movies through Marvel.
I was gonna ask like what you guys thought of the original Ant-Man, like compared to this one. Do you feel like this was like on par, or did you enjoy the first one better?
I enjoyed the first one better.
Yeah, the first one was awesome, but of course you have to understand that the first one is solely based on Ant-Man himself. Yeah, how he came to be and how he hooked up with Mr. Pym and all this. So, now that this is Ant-Man and the Wasp, so it's generally understood that this movie belongs to the Wasp.
How many times can we see something get big and small? I mean, okay, we get it. The car's small. Now the car's big. We get it. There's a whole box of cars. Okay, the building turns small. We get it. It's Ant-Man. It's large man. It's giant man. I know that's the premise of the movie, and I shouldn't be complaining about it. But it just seemed like whenever they were in a trouble or something, okay, just make it small or big. That cleaned it up. But I know that was the point of the movie. But
I guess that's what it is. Yeah.
I guess but just the way the characters were, and they could have went a little bit more, but. They tried to get into the quantum realm. They tried getting into that realm, and I see why they're going that way, because that's going to explain a lot in the future movies that are coming.
I think so. I think so too.
So that's going to be a huge part of what's going to happen, and they dropped hints left and right. And
you have to pay attention to the dialogue, especially towards the end there, like in that mid credits.
Yep,
scene.
It just seems like the next Avengers movie, the continuation from this whole Infinity Gauntlet series of Thanos thing is there's gonna be time traveling in the quantum realm and and it's gonna be super duper complex. And I think Marvel's doing it the right way, because they're getting the regular people, the regular moviegoers that don't know much about comics or aren't super geeky, getting them used to all this extra information, and all this wild stuff that they have to really pay attention to. It's like they're training them. Every movie, it's getting a little bit more complex and complex.
Yeah.
So I think when they do the next Avengers movie, it's going to be like a whoa. It's going to be an Avengers movie, right? The next one.
Yeah. Well, Captain Marvel.
Oh, it's going to be the No, I'm talking about the continuation. From
it's another Avengers. We just don't know the.
I didn't know if it was going to be a Captain America or something like that.
No, it's Avengers.
We're getting Captain Marvel's going to be the next film, and then Avengers 4 after that, whatever the title's going to wind up being.
Yeah, like it'd be called Back in Time.
Time travel is definitely going to play a factor. I think we already kind of guessed it. I think there was some like leaked set photos that we saw some of the Avengers in their original costumes from the first Avengers movies.
Yeah, and Paul Rudd was wearing the regular costume, so it's like, why is Paul Rudd wearing this costume and they're wearing the retro? So this only going to make you feel like he's going to get lost in a quantum realm, go through a time warp, or he's going to come back out of the quantum realm, see what happens, and then hook up with these guys and be like, oh yeah, that's right, they told me we could go back in time if we're not careful, so let's try to go back in time. Something like that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how we could like put it together, because us being kind of like comic fans, and we're like so into this shit. We're definitely not casuals when it comes to like these films.
No, not at all. And I'm kind of glad they're not going the basic route that we already know. Like the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War books and all that stuff. They're taking elements from it, but they're not really solely basing the storylines on that. So it's like keeping us
still make it their own.
Yeah, so it's making us as comic geeks a little bit more surprised and a little bit more entertained. You know what I mean? Because here we are getting the nods to the comics, the old school books, but yet we're getting something new and refreshing, and we're like, oh wow, that worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
not too bad. They did it okay.
Yeah, they're doing such a good job with that. And I definitely felt this film was definitely like a come down from, Infinity War. And you kind of needed that, like, because that movie just, when you're watching that for the first time and then the way they hit you with that ending, it's like, holy shit, man. And you're like, what the fuck is going to happen next? So, this movie, Ant-Man, even the original one, is not a story that's being told on like its grand scale. It's actually like a very small or personal tale, like about family. And I felt like the movie had a lot of heart, but I just kind of like throughout the film, I'm like, man, I don't really know if I really care about these characters as much as I care about like some of the other characters in it.
Well, they're setting the daughter up. They're setting her up because she says, when I grow up, I want to fight crime.
I want to be just like you.
I want to be just like you. So they're setting her storyline up already. And Avengers 4 is supposed to be a couple of years in the future from the last one. So she's going to be a little bit older. So who knows? We may actually see her in Avengers 4 taking on that persona. Who knows?
I don't know if it'll be that quick.
Dude, I wonder if he's going to get to meet her as a teenager and wearing the suit and stuff, because I know she's in the comic book. She's a superhero as well. So I wonder.
Because isn't it he dies or he gets lost? I'm not too big on the new universe stuff, but
I'm not.
Lang dies or he gets lost in the quantum realm or something. I
think he gets lost because I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, that he gets lost and then he pops up all of a sudden, and it's like, where have you been all these years and blah blah blah.
And the daughter takes on the mantle because
there you go.
They think he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting twist. Wow, Michelle Pfeiffer got old, man.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not my Catwoman.
That technology is incredible, though. Like in the flashbacks, how they make them look young, like Douglas and her, and even Lawrence Fishburne and shit.
Well, I'm just happy with this whole franchise with Ant-Man. Is that when I first heard that they were going to do the Ultimate series and not the Pym story, I was just like, man, really? Because I'm that old school Marvel guy. But the way they included Pym in the storyline, and I know it's not the new movie, but just how they worked him in. And how they had like the pictures of him during the old war days of him being, in S.H.I.E.L.D. and actually being the old Ant-Man that nobody knew about. I thought that was pretty excellent the way they worked that in. And then like having the Goliath in there.
Yeah.
In this movie too, like he was one of the projects and he was wearing a suit, and it gives those nods to me, like the comic tickles to like the old school reader,
Yeah. And Pym's still very integral to like the storyline and stuff, still very much a main character. Like, and that's good, like, cause it's true. Same thing. Like before the first Ant-Man movie came out, like Pym is always like my Ant-Man. Yeah. Not that I read his books, but when I would read the Avengers, he was Ant-Man. Mm-hmm. So when it was going to focus, when I heard it was going to be Paul Rudd and it was going to be Scott Lang playing Scott Lang, I was like, all right, so they're going with the newer character, and I wasn't sure how they were going to work it, but they just always they know what they're fucking doing, man.
Yeah, they definitely know how to find the balance between the older universe and the newer storylines. Well, other than Iron Man 3, the whole fucking that's the extremist storyline that they. Oh yeah, God, that was fucking god awful. I hated that, man.
Yeah, but this one was all right, like I said, but it's just like, a come down movie. I didn't feel like it was super exciting.
Yeah, well, that's why I said it's kind of an odd release for July 4th.
Yeah.
July 4th, you want your blockbusters, your holiday summer fucking blockbusters.
Maybe they should have just spread it out because, we got all these movies in pretty quick like succession, and usually they kind of spread them out. You get one early in the year, one around May or June, and then like October, November, they give us like another one. Yeah. So,
well, I know it did okay, but I don't think it was getting the numbers that they really were hoping for. But it did all right, but it wasn't getting the proper numbers. I mean, it wasn't a Solo, but. That was just like too many geek movies all in a row. It was just too much shit coming out from Memorial Day, man. It was just too much.
Yeah, and people could catch fatigue and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not just it's wallet fatigue. You want to go with your family, it's $100 for fucking movie tickets and popcorn. But if just say you have 2 kids and 2 adults, you're looking at almost $100, and of course you got to go to Applebee's before it or something like that, and you guys so you're making it a family night of it, and then you have like 4 summer blockbusters hitting a 2-3 week time period. It gets to the point. Okay, we'll get there. The summer's early. We'll get to the end of summer. We'll go and see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Those parents trying to
can't afford that anymore, man. That's why Cody life's in effect.
Yep. My cousin, we have like AMC stubs, and they offer $5 movie Tuesday. So that's when he takes his family because he got 2 kids, and then it's him and his wife.
Yeah,
so
but that's when everybody's there on a Tuesday, and then you're just like, fuck, this place is packed, blah blah blah. But I guess when you're going with a family, you don't really give a fuck about other people's families because you're dealing with your kids being loud and obnoxious and ruining other people's movie experiences. Shout out to the old grumpy man sitting in the back by himself. That's me. Really, kid? You really got to keep looking at your phone? Put the fucking phone down.
I know, right? You just see fucking the light and shit.
You hit my fucking seat one more time, I swear to God.
You throw popcorn.
No, you know what it is. You know the 3/4 movie turn where you just turn your head that little bit and you just look, and usually they see you and they stop. Sometimes they don't fucking get it. They don't get the point. I am the grumpy old man. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old.
Well, so far as of July 11th, the movie's sitting at just under $100 million. It's at 98 million. So it's definitely going to cross that 100 million barrier. And the first one, the total domestic, topped out at 180 million domestic and 339 million worldwide. So this is definitely not one of those other franchises like Captain America or Iron Man.
No, not at all. So, but it's a necessary part of the storyline for them to complete.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. And that's the beauty of them having and doing these individual films, because then when you get to the Avengers, you could pull out all the shit and if you didn't see these, you're gonna be confused. But for them introducing the quantum realm and then in the Thor, in the Thor movies, Asgard and all these other places,
gone, dude.
Like
just think about it. Asgard is gone.
I know. It's crazy.
I never thought I would fucking see it. Like, Asgard is gone. There's no more Asgard. I'm like, oh man.
As soon as his father went, everything.
That's it. His movies are done.
It's just been good to see how they've been able to mix the stuff here, like that's going on Earth, with all the stuff going out like in space, and then the magic stuff with Doctor Strange, and just having it all make sense. And the quantum realm now with
that's what I said. They're slowly getting people ready for this shit. Yeah. I think it was always the plan, like their second wave, we're going to get more cosmic and get more into like, the magic stuff and the multi-universal stuff and the out, and at first to come out like that, you're going to confuse everybody. So you do the staples, you build up that audience, you build up that popcorn mentality, and then you start throwing the trigonometry in there. You know what I mean? That little algebra in there, but you make it fun and people are going to really absorb it and really react to it well. And I think they're doing that. And I think the next step, I think we're going to be seeing more of this cosmic shit, man.
Mm-hmm. That's where it's going, man.
Yep. Nomads and, we're going to see some nomad action and maybe, what the fuck? Imagine, like, I didn't think the Guardians would work, man. Honestly, man, I didn't think Guardians would work because I was like, that's not the Guardians that I know. And Guardians aren't that cool of a team. They had that big run in the 90s, where they came back with the new team and they were kind of like the space Avengers. They were the Avengers in space, in the future in space. That's how I always saw it, because you had the guy with, what was his, Vance Astro. He had the shield, the Captain America shield.
Captain American shield. Yes.
Yeah. So they kind of always remind me of a futuristic space Avengers. And, who knows what they're going to do? I mean, I guess I got to look at some of these new universe books or these, newer titles and storylines to see, where they're going to go.
Well, they've changed a lot, even compared to like what they were doing in the 90s and the early 2000s to mid 2000s. It's, you know, it seems like each book is almost like got its own thing going on and its own continuity. And they've just recently started. I just got a Captain America #1, so I could send that to you if you want, just to kind of check it out.
Start all over again, man. It's not DC. That's DC shtick. You know what I mean? Multiple universes and restarts, and you know, and once Marvel started doing that, it's just like, oh,
that's what they're doing now. That's what Marvel's, you know.
But then again, they're trying to keep the characters refreshed for a new generation. Captain America can't be 32 for 45 years.
Yeah,
Wolverine can pull it off, but you know. Yeah. But you honestly get what I'm saying. It's just like they're just rehashing it for the next generation, really.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. And these movies have a lot of influence because, like, with the success of these films, you know, then they want, you know, people, you know, kids that might be seeing these films are going to go into the comic shops and they want to kind of see something similar to what they're seeing on the screen. So they give you some of that too. And they've reworked some of the comic book characters to kind of be more like what they are in these Marvel films. You know?
I tell you what, it's helping the comic industry because, especially like the older keys, man, because the values are coming up in some older books. So it's glad to see. Like, I don't know about the new stuff, but I know a lot of the older books now. I'm sure if we get Yule to tell us all about that. He's huge into that comic life, but he's a big key collector, first appearance collector, and some of these books that are coming out now or came out now from these movies are really gaining some speed and some more value on the aftermarket. So you know me with those long boxes, you know, I've been holding out. You know, I got 2 full complete sets of the Infinity Gauntlet, you know. So that book was that series was going for like $30-$40 complete, and I think I was watching it go. This is not graded at all. This is just a regular mint, mint, you know, nothing, you know, like your 8.0 book to a 9 book. I saw them going for like $140, $150 for a set. So that jumped pretty big. And then, you know, when they hinted at other people coming in, those books started rising. And then they were talking about Dazzler was going to be in one of the new X-Men films. Her first appearance in Uncanny shot up. Yeah. You know, so people are like, once they hear the rumor, they go out and buy that key book. Yeah. So it's helping the industry a little bit more, especially the older, you know, comic industry. So these, good to see what little bit of comic book stores that we have left, that maybe they could sell some wall books, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
I remember seeing that happen back in the day, like when the original, in the 89 Tim Burton Batman came out, you know, and the Joker became super popular, like all his appearances in the comic books like shot up.
Yeah, but at least that was when that was during the big height of comic books. You know what I mean? So, you know, that was just adding on top of what was already there. The comic book industry has been very dormant for a very long time. And these movies have been really bringing some more love to the comic industry, man. Not enough where we could see more comic shops popping up. But, you know, I do miss going into an old school comic book store, man. There's in Jersey, I used to be able to count on 2 hands. Now the closest one to me is Zap Comics, and that's all the way fucking Paramus. Not Paramus. It's down by Willowbrook Mall, so it's at least 45 minutes to an hour.
For the longest time, a lot of the mom and pop shops here in the city too, like, had been closed down, and you only had like the big places like Midtown and Forbidden Planet. But here in the Bronx, we have like a couple that have opened up within like the past 2 years and stuff. So that's been good to see. You know,
it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool, because I went to one of the right before it closed. I went to this one place. It was called Dragon's Lair in New Jersey, and it was one of your old. It was a big store. And you walk in and like you have your long boxes, you have your Power of the Force figures, you have some Marvel selects, you have your busts, you have your statues. It just reminded me of an old school comic book store. And you know where all the action was? It was at the counter with the kids with the fucking card games, buying cards. And I was talking with the guy and I said, man, this is beautiful. This is a mecca right here of, you know, he goes, yeah, but too bad nobody wants this shit anymore. It's the kids that want all this stuff now. He goes, if it wasn't for these cards, we would have been closed.
That's true.
And less than a year later, the place was actually closed down. But you know, and internet sales, you know, you have to shift to your internet sales, and that means eBay auctions, and then you have to do all that shit, and that's more labor. You know, because you got to post the stuff, you got to ship the stuff, you got to, you know what I mean? Deal with the repercussions afterwards. You get a nerd. It's not like described.
Yeah.
You know, PayPal, you know, the next thing you know, he wins the PayPal case. He gets to keep it, and you get your money back. You know, you keep the money, he keeps the book. But in the end of it, but it's still just a hassle and a headache. You know.
Yeah,
it's a whole other aspect of like the business, and actually like a new aspect, because when I was working in the hobby shop, like that wasn't around back then, you know, and exactly the way you just described. It wasn't the comic books that was keeping us in business. It was the Pokemon cards and the Spice Girl shit that we were selling. Like we sold unbelievable amounts of that stuff.
I'm glad I was not part of that era. I was
Spice Girl stuff. Wow.
Yeah, it's like, dude, when the Spice Girls were super popular, they had Spice Girl cards, they had action figures, they had fucking so much shit that they.
Well, back in the day, there was a spot that one of his big thing was Beanie Babies.
Yeah,
Beanie Babies was was keeping it. You know, you had your guys coming in for their weeklies. You know, their weekly pulls. But you know, he said, you know, long box and old issues aren't selling like they used to. Dude, I remember I was in the comic book store 5 days out of the week when I was a kid. Man, I would go in there and I had my composition notebook, and I had my checklist, and I'd go through it, write how much he wants for it. I would go through the price guides, and then I would have my pull list every week, and then I would make another list of back issues that I would buy that I could afford after calculating how much my paycheck was and what I had left between buying music and comics, you know. So I always had like this little checklist book, and you would start seeing books go on the rise, and I'm like, man, I got to get that before it might be $4.50 next week. You know what I mean? I don't want to spend $4 on a comic book, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just fun. And I remember at the time back in the 80s, I had a chance to buy giant size X-Men #1 for like $60, and I thought $60 was all the money in the world.
Yeah,
I can't buy one comic, I can't do it. And the guys held the book for me. They were going to let me pay it off, and I just said I can't do it. And I fucking kick myself in the ass every day for not getting that book.
What's that go for now, dude?
Yeah, because giant size X-Men.
It's up there like 15. Matters on the hit your eBay, and you can see. I remember for a while there was like a 300 a couple of years ago, and I was like, yeah, you know, I could probably, you know, I could get that. This is before I was back into collecting anything, you know. And then it was just like a grail that I always, you know, even though I was out of comic books, it's just like one of those grails that I would just love to have. And you know, I got the reprint. You know, I can't even afford like a low grade copy, you know. Even a 3.0 is up there, you know. And I'm not looking to get it graded. Here's one. Let me see. Let me change it, the filter here, so we can see it.
I see now why you want to kick yourself for not getting that $60 copy, bro.
Yeah. Let me see. Where is it?
Especially for $60 at the time when you couldn't.
Yeah. You know? Well, at the time it was X-Men were big, but this is the big 90s.
Before the big boom. Yeah.
This was in the, you know, this was. Here we go. I can't. It's been so long since I've been on eBay. I can't. Let's see. One with no cover sold for $158. Here's a 3.0 that went for $400, and that's graded. So of course, you know, that's going to be pushed. Here's a 6.5 not graded, you know, at $700. So you know, you want a really decent copy. There's one that went at 1,000.
Holy shit!
And it was a 7.5. There's one for 1,000, 125. Yeah, so that book definitely picked up.
It picks up serious money, man. It's worth serious cash.
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men is like kind of it's leading the pack. It was like one of the first really big Marvel movies to be made. You know, I remember when X-Men, they're making a fucking X-Men movie.
Yeah, back in 2000, right?
We wanted that, you know, growing up so bad, you know. I remember growing up, De Niro would be a great Wolverine. That's 1987 dust, you know?
Yeah, and X-Men came before Spider-Man, and then, you know, that first Spider-Man, like, was like, at that time, was like, oh, wow, you know, we're getting this. And then, you know, and then after that, it was just a floodgate of fucking superhero movies.
Yeah, I just remember before that, you know, superhero movies that were coming out earlier were fucking fails, or they were just went under the radar, or they just weren't those characters that we wanted to see. You know, who you remember the Dolph Lundgren Punisher movie?
Yeah,
I remember the shitty
Captain America movie from the 80s. Yeah, remember that one?
And you know, you could talk about the old school TV series, and you know, the Spider-Man series that were in the 70s. Of course, you had the Hulk. You know,
his webbing was fucking rope. Remember that?
Yep. Rope. And then you had the Japanese Spider-Man with the mechs that they got all super Power Rangers, or they got all like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. He would have like a mech that he called in, and then robots, he would, it was, oh man, I got those on the hard drive. Those are fun watches.
Oh, nice. Oh, you got like the whole series.
I got the whole series. Yeah, they're fun to watch.
Oh, man. Nice. Amazing to see how far Marvel has come, and it's crazy too, because back in those days they did, because of those movies and those shows, they didn't have the greatest reputation when it came to in that type of media. You know, and it wasn't until like the first Blade movie came out, which I feel doesn't even get the credit it deserves as far as being like a Marvel movie.
Yeah, well, because a lot of people don't know it's a comic book movie. They didn't even know he was a comic book character. He was just a black vampire that was kicking vampires' ass. You know?
To a lot of people, it's just another movie.
Yeah. It seemed like X-Men seemed to be the one that got the most credit as far as like starting like the superhero boom.
If you go back and watch them, the X-Men were bad, man. They really were bad. They weren't. I mean,
X2 was good. Like I felt like that still kind of holds up today, but the first one, and even like sometimes when I watch the first Spider-Man now, I'm like, man, some of that dialogue is just
well, that was them keeping it. That was them keeping it comic campy. They felt like they had to keep it comic book campy, and then it wasn't until like more modern times where it didn't have to be comic book campy. It could be a little bit more serious and a little bit more modernized when it came to the humor. And I think
having to sacrifice the fantastic stuff.
Yes. Boy, we got off kilter here, man. We were going on a comic book path. And I love talking about old school comics, man.
Man, we're still on Marvel, so we're good.
It's all related, It's all related stuff. It's all good.
Because that was a huge part of my life growing up, man. My comics, my life.
Yeah, same here. Lifelong comic fan. Like I've been reading.
You worked in a fucking comic store, dude. That's fucking awesome, man. I always wanted to.
Yeah, for years, man. Since I was 15, I was actually just before I turned 15 till I was 20, and I started working at the hospital. It was all off the books. I used to get my books at a little discount. Used to collect figures because we sold action figures, comics, and cards and all that stuff. So it was a good time. I didn't get paid a lot, but I learned a lot during it.
Hey, man, that paper route, you knew where I went on that Saturday when I got paid. It was funny growing up. Where I lived, there was 4 comic book shops in walking distance. On the 3 of them were on the main avenue in Rockaway Parkway in Brooklyn. It was right on the Canarsie border with East New York and Brownsville, and there was 3 shops there. And what I would do is I got a lot of airbrush shirts made back in the day of Marvel characters. So there was everybody had, back in the 80s, they had that airbrush spot. You get sweatshirts and hats made. He would do characters for me on the sweatshirts, and it was right 2 doors down from the comic book shop. So I would go to the comic book shop and go to the other pub. And you always had your favorite shop, and you went to the other shops, and the owners weren't all that cool, but you always had that one shop that, it's like Norm walking into Cheers. You know what I mean? Hey, hey, you're going to pull that you're going to pull the trigger on that book this week? I don't know. Let's see. What came in this week? And I used to go next door, and he was a dope. He was a graffiti artist, a local graffiti artist, and he had the gig doing the shirts there. I had a Wolverine, I had a Colossus. He did me. I got the Wolverine. Remember the Heroes for Hope cover? It was X-Men Heroes for Hope book, where it was they put the book out to help the starving relief food in Africa. During that whole big 80s push like that. And there's Arthur Adams did the cover. And Wolverine's like hunched over, running towards. Just Google it, you'll see it. But he put that on a shirt, man. It was fucking so dope. White sweatshirt, and it had like a blue circle around it to bring it out, to make it pop. That faded circle, man. Oh, I used to fucking run those sweatshirts to death, man. To death. I used to wear them all the time. And they were back in the day, they were like $25. Now $25 in the mid 80s, that's a lot of money for a sweatshirt.
That's a lot of dough, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of money compared to now, but man, I ran those shirts, man. Ran them. Oh, comic books. Gotta love it. All right, beers are kicking in.
Those are good memories, though. That's fucking awesome. I remember just like, I know during the summers, Wednesdays, of course, when the new comics come out, I'd always be the first one there at the comic store. And when I was young, just being there, those guys would see me there. We had one shop in the neighborhood, so they just see me there every week. And, and I'd just help them out, and they'd throw me like a free book every now and again for, helping them, rack the new books every single Wednesday
when
it's available. So that was cool. And then the shop that I was working at was a newer one that opened up in the neighborhood. And again, same thing. Like it was literally like around the corner from where I lived.
Oh, it was terrible, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you up, but like when I had a job, I got a job at a retail place. I was working in like this little department store, a little local department store. Retail in my life since I was like 17. I was a little bit older, wasn't the paper route. That was my next big job. And it just so happened it was a comic book store right on the strip. It was Avenue L in Brooklyn, and right across the way there was a comic shop. And you know where I went on payday?
Comic book store, man.
Right across the fucking street. I couldn't get away from it.
It's like a drug, man.
Yeah, it was. was, man. It was.
Bro.
And it was cool because it's almost like the way it is now, the way we collect action figures, and we kind of got our fingers on the pulse of like all the new shit that's coming out. Like that's the way it was then. Like you had to kind of be in the comic stores to see all the new shit and the new toys and new figures, you know. And it was just so cool, like just to see like remember the Secret Wars action figures from the 80s, and then to see what they gave us from Toy Biz in the 90s. Like it was just an interesting time.
It was.
Man, you were there opening the cases up and pulling them fresh. So you can literally say, I'm gonna take this one.
Yep, exactly. I had dibs. I had first dibs.
I don't want that one. Let's open it. Awesome.
My boss would dead me on the real rare figures though, because there sometimes there would be those that would be packed one per case. So you'd be like, nah, you can't have that. If we order another case, I'll let you have it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, because he got first dibs on it.
Yeah, he would mark them up, and so
you have to, because you're not buying multiple cases, so you're not getting that discounted price. So you can't put it out there for the same price as everybody else. You gotta have that.
Dust knows. That's exactly what he told me. Yeah. I was young then. I didn't understand it because I'm like, why do we charge so much? And he's like, look, we're not Toys R Us. Yeah. You know, they order 100,000 cases and they distribute that to all their stores. I'm the little guy ordering 2 cases, getting charged more money, no discount. So we have to charge more.
We have to charge more to make that money. Yep. You know what's cool? What was that big book that came out? Was it Diamond Previews or something like that?
Diamond, yeah, exactly.
Remember when the Diamond books would drop, man, and you just do it like this. You would see things and be like, "Can you get this? Yeah, I could get that for you." I would just put orders in. Yep. I was putting in orders in for all this shit. That was bad, you know. It was like it was to the point like they would sell the book, but you know that was something that he always threw in for me on the arm, that like stickers and shit like that, or you know, give me some breaks on some books, because they knew I was spending a lot of money there and I was spending a lot of time there, not bugging them, just going through long boxes, and they'd be like, "You're gonna go through that X-Men box again?" Yeah. He goes, "You know, I really haven't added anything to it." I go, "I know, but I want to look." And I would look at the issues that I really wanted, you know, and you would sit there just looking at the walls for hours. You know what I mean? And just
let me ask you guys something. Is there something in the collecting community that actually makes you feel like that when you're 12 or 11? Again?
Absolutely
like,
not.
That's
not
what
anymore.
I thought.
It scratches an itch and it's satisfying.
No. I mean the full effect, bro.
Yeah.
Like something that's like, wow.
You can hear when I talk a lot about my nostalgic stuff, you see how I changed. I'm a totally different person. I'm just my God. It's like I'll bring you to 85 with me, you know?
Dude, yeah, no shit. Yeah.
You see how I get and how excited I get to talk about these things.
Yeah.
It was such a great part of my life, and you know, and I love all the things that I had as a youth, of course, you know, you want to have today. And I'm just lucky enough to have my childhood comic book collection that I could go through, you know, and say, hey man, I remember buying this fucking book. I remember getting
what I like
this.
about that. Yes, you remember buying it. You remember the way the store smelled. You remember what you were wearing, where you were standing.
Most of them are still,
I love that, bro.
Most of them, and I know this is something that a comic book collector needs to really do. But I recently got my collection back, maybe about 6 years ago. So what I did when I first got my collection back was that I was going through it and I wanted to get it all in numerical order, get it all fixed, you know, because they were being, you know, pulled and read and blah, blah, blah. And every time I started to do that, it would be like a 10-hour process. I'd have books all over the house for a week because I would stop and be like, oh man, look at this cover. I remember this cover. And then you're like taking it out, and then you're doing the comic book lay on your hand, you know, the palm.
Gently.
Yeah, you're going through pages, and you're like, oh, and then you see an advertisement, and you're like, oh my God, I remember this Atari advertisement. And you're like, and then the next thing you know, it's been 4 hours, and you looked at 4 books. You know what I mean? And there's no work getting done whatsoever, man. But I enjoy those nights because it's just like, wow, man, I remember the day, and that sparks more memories, and whether they're good or bad, because some of my childhood memories weren't the best. There were some very dark times for me as a kid, but it kind of, you accept those memories because it's just taking you back. You know,
you just go deeper and deeper to your
past. A drug. It's basically a drug, and then you just feel satisfied afterwards that you remember that. And then you remember a friend that you haven't spoken to in years. And what do you do the next day? You hunt them down on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Or, you know, it just leads to other things, bigger things maybe later on. So memories are good to have, man. And these little trinkets and these little things that we have that lay around, and when they spark these feelings in us, it's very positive.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Positive. And it means something. You know, like it means.
Yeah, and you know what? And I feel bad for these kids nowadays because you know what? They're not going to remember app 30 years from now.
They don't have that feeling, dude. They don't have,
you know,
the stuff that we experienced or some of us experienced.
There's no material items.
There's
Everything's
nothing.
digital.
There's nothing.
Everything's digital. Everything's fucking digital. There's no material. You know, it goes to even hip hop. You know, old school hip hop albums, cassettes, or LPs, and reading the liner notes and reading the shout outs and the sample clearances on hip hop, and you know, looking at producer credits, and you know what I mean. That was a huge part of what I loved about buying music. It's digital now. You know, this is why we still put out, you know, hard copies, because it's that big part of our life that you take the album home, you throw it in, and while the album's playing, I know, of course, our liner notes aren't as big as like the old school liner notes, but you remember those old school liner notes on the cassette? Sometimes they were like 4 or 5 pages long, and then you're like, wow, I didn't know Redman was hanging out with this dude, and he was doing this, and this guy did DJ cuts for that, and then you can find some samples. You know, being a producer, I'm like, that's where they got those drums from, or I got to find that record. And then when I went out looking for, you know, when I used to go record shopping, I would make a list and look for those records. And, you know, so it just, you know, this whole collecting thing in general is it just opens up your mind to like memories, and kids don't have it no more.
You know what else they don't have is a lot of the stuff and the passion that we express when we're doing these shows. Is a lot of us earned it, man. We busted our ass to buy whatever we could, you know. A lot of these kids, and not everybody, there might be a few little weekend warriors out there that are young and they work for their money, but the majority of them, they have everything given to them, dude. So that's why a lot of times it doesn't have that much meaning to them. The passion, that love for that item, dude. They don't express that, you know, just the way Dust expressed it. Oh, I went to go buy this and I got my paycheck. Dude, who the hell had a paycheck at 11, 12 years old? You know, he did. You know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of us growing up, we had. I used to cut grass, wash cars, and I started working on cars when I was 13, dude. I made my first $50 working on a car, working on suspension work, because I've been around cars my whole life. And whenever I got paid and I finished the job, it's like, what are you going to go buy with that? Man, I put that shit, and I was like, I didn't want to let it go.
Man, I was never good with my money, man. That money was gone as fast as it came in, man.
You see, whatever you purchase, bro, means that much to you, bro, because you busted your ass for it, you know?
Yeah, that's a great point.
When I got older, it was between comic books, collecting action figures, and music. You know, and it would be like, okay, do I get these books this week and I'll buy my 12 inches the week after? You know, the new release 12 inches, or I'll go record digging another week after that. You know what I mean? I used to go to the right spots. I used to go to these liquidator spots in the city for records and get them for like $3 for $1. So I would be at this one spot in the city, and it was just a liquidator. So like people would just say, here, buy my records. It was like a pawn shop liquidator stuff. And then one day I was going there for like 2 months straight. And one day the guy comes to me, he goes, man, you've been here a lot. I said, yeah. He goes, you buy a lot every week. He goes, what are you doing with this stuff? I said, well, I'm an avid music collector. I'm getting into the, you know, sampling and making hip hop. And I was like 17, 18. He goes, you should go downstairs. What?
What? There's a downstairs?
And it was downstairs. It was in the fucking basement.
There's a downstairs?
And I was like, oh my God. I've been coming here going through these same bins every week. And he's like, yeah, whenever the bins get low, we just bring a couple of crates up from downstairs. And he goes, you've been here enough. He goes, I could trust you. Go downstairs. And then I'm like, okay. You know, I'm fucking dodging rats and shit. This is Manhattan. This is in the Midtown Manhattan. You know what I mean? Like a basement. You know, who knows what I was inhaling from these fucking basements? Really low lighting. You know what I mean? I brought a flashlight the next time. You got to go down next time.
You got these rats telling you, excuse me. Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah. They're like handing me break beats. Here's Apache. Here's a Bob James record. You know what I mean?
Here, listen to this one. This one's badass. You'll like this one.
But you know, that was back in the day when I was buying anything. So you know, when they came $3 for $1, yeah, they weren't records that came from like a pristine, you know, used record shop. But for what I needed and what I wanted for, I was just digging for loops and digging for samples and digging for drums. And, you know, I was finding my Isaac Hayeses and my Barry Whites and all these loops and samples. But I was also looking for the stuff that nobody else ever used before. You know, so, you know, every week at $3 for $1, I had to start taking, I couldn't take the subway anymore because I had 3 big shopping bags full of records. Because for $3 for $1, records are heavy and they're fucking bulky and big. So I was taking what in Brooklyn they were called the command bus. was like a bus that went straight from Manhattan right into the boroughs, and you would go, it would just take you. You didn't have to worry about a multiple bus and transfers and subways and stuff like that. You paid a little bit more for it, but at least I could get all the records on and just sit until I get to my stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is more collecting thing, more collector's problems.
Exactly.
It's just a shame you couldn't take your shopping cart that you used for your paper route.
Well, what am I gonna do? Put it on the L train?
Yeah, man, you fill that bitch up and you're like, sorry about that, man. I just got to take this shit home.
But that was just a time in my life where, like, when I got a little bit older, it was less comics and it was more records. So, I went from one platform to another platform.
Phases.
So,
we
collection phases. We're all collectors and we're all hoarders and junk buyers, and it's in us, man. We're all Jawas.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, we're always collecting something, whether it's one thing or another. Because comics and action figures at one point, but then when you stop, then it's mainly just I'm just doing video games and stuff like that, and focusing on the gaming aspect. And then you walk into a toy store, I'm gonna pick this up, and then that fire gets reignited, and that's always what's happened throughout the years, the ups and downs.
And you talk to a lot of people that are in the realm or fellow collectors, they're the same way. We all have the same traits. We all may not collect the same thing or have collected the same stuff throughout the years, but we all have the same sickness. We all have it in us.
That's how we get along.
My sister has it. Frogman has it.
Yeah, man. That's why we all get along, and that's why we all like converse the way we do, because we're so much alike. So
and that was a great point, like you said, about the way these things resonate with us, because we know what we had to go through in order to acquire some of these things. The hard work.
And it's not saying, hey, we had a hard knock life when we had to walk to school with snow and blah. No, we're just talking a little bit more about what we had to go through. And when people listen to this podcast or they listen to our old memories, they're like, you know what? That touches base with me because I remember that. I remember something just like it wasn't exactly the same, but it's the basics.
Couldn't afford it.
It's the basics, Yeah. I mean, we grew up in a fucked up time, man. Reaganomics, man. I mean, go back and look at the city. Look at Manhattan in the 80s. The place was a fucking dump.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Look at the 70s into 80s.
Yep. Times Square wasn't nice.
Garbage strikes, garbage on the pile to the fucking heavens on the fucking middle of the road, and
drugs, crime everywhere. Fucking
fucking bombed the fucking hell, man. I did have a lot to do with that. It just,
I remember the old school trains with the graffiti, man. That was,
we didn't have, being an old school graffiti guy, if we didn't have money to do anything or go anywhere, we would just go to the local train station, hop the turnstile, and just sit down and just watch the trains come in. Wow. And just see who's doing, pieces. And, we couldn't even afford we didn't have a camera. And it was like, remember 110 film, the film that looked like a car? Like it had two wheels on it in a rectangle. You remember the Kodak film?
Oh,
the 110?
Yeah.
Remember, now I'm taking you back. It looked like a car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how far back I'm going with that shit. And then remember the disc camera, the disc film? It was round. They made the disc. Lay click and all that shit. Now I'm bringing you back. But we would just go back. We would just go sit down. In one of the train stations. Just watch the trains come in for a couple of hours and bug out on some of the shit and say, oh, this guy's dope, that guy's dope. And we'd have our black books and we'd be doing, sketches and doing shit right there. And then you would occasionally meet other writers that would come over and be like, you write, because back then you didn't want anybody to know who the fuck you were or what you did. But yet we had paint all over our hands and on our clothing and, like we weren't too good with concealing it, So, and that's how you politicked and you met up with other writers and shit like that. Man, I'm really going all over the place tonight. My ADD's kicking in. I'm sorry, guys.
You're just bringing back those 80s memories. And stuff
man,
like
the city was fucked, man. The city was fucked. It wasn't safe to travel, man. Fucking, you had all the gangs out robbing people, the lowlives and the Decepticons, and this is before Bloods and Crips. We're big on the East Coast, so it was a hard time, man. It was really hard for us, man. I'm holding on to my comics and my records. Little fat Eddie, little fat Dustmightz on the train.
And you're just only walking.
These are just fucked up comic books. Take my Walkman.
That's what I was gonna say. Take
the Walkman.
Just please leave me the comics.
It's amazing to see how far we've come, But I think because of that, like you said, these kids aren't going to remember an app 20 years from now and stuff like that. It's not going to be the same type of memories. They'll have their memories, but it's not going to be.
It's going to be. You know what? I just got on the. I don't know what it's going to be. eBay. Even if eBay is around 10, 20 years from now, I bought an iPhone 6.
No.
Mint in box.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Damn.
Look at these beat headphones that I bought.
Does it still have the plastic cover on the screen?
I booted it up last night.
Did it work?
Oh man, so crazy.
It's funny, man. It sucks for these kids. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I won't be around to see it, but who knows?
It's all video games.
It's not even, I don't even see a lot of kids gaming that much anymore. Well, you know what they're doing? They're not playing like video games like we would say sit down in front of your console and play video games.
It's not a console.
It's all
mobile. Everything's mobile. They're playing their Fortnite and their Overwatch and everything is just so accessible, and all these kids have smartphones now. Like that's just kind of the thing. So everything is on the go. It's all mobile gaming. It's microtransactions.
It was hard enough to afford kids before.
Imagine.
Okay, and this is something that I remember talking to my sister one time. And I know I'm going to go on a little off track here, but it pertains to what we're talking about here. I remember back in the day, you would go to the first day of school and you get your list of supplies and you bring them home. Pencil case, pencil, Elmer's glue, sharpener, highlight markers, whatever the fuck it is. My niece came home from school one day, laptop, iPad. What? This is all on the fucking list that she needs to have for class.
You're kidding.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable.
Dude. A laptop,
well, I don't live in it's not an urban area. I'm in the woods here. So I guess they're trying to be, tech savvy and she's downloading her homework when she gets home off the website.
Oh my God. Wow.
What happened to getting the Rexograph sheet? Remember Rexograph sheets? The Xeroxes, we used to call them Rexographs, the old school days. That was the machine that you actually had that had the ink and you had to fucking turn the wheel. And it kicked out the copies that way. I'm going even old school.
Man, you're going.
I'm going old school.
That's back. Yep. That's back.
When I was growing up in elementary school, it was like a job that you got picked to do, and you would go down to the office and sit there and turn a fucking wheel.
Damn, homie. Dude.
Just like this. It would just kick out copies. And every once in a while, you had to fill the ink up.
You hit that rewind button a little bit too far, man.
What I loved about it was the way the ink smelled. I went home a little loopy every day when I did that shit. Then you had AV Club. They would pull in the VCR and the TV. And my school had the old school VCR that had the big play buttons with the top that came up like a cassette deck. Popped open like a cassette deck.
Yeah, I like those.
Yeah, it was right after the Betamax.
The Betamax, yeah.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm bringing you back.
I used to love those days.
Yeah,
I love those days of school when they'd bring out the VCR and we just watch something instead of having to fucking do work.
You knew someone was on jury. Your teacher was on jury duty, or they got sick, or they called out, or they got fired when you saw one of those things when you walked into the class. He's just like, yeah. And here comes the fat pencils at fucking mother. We're tough on these guys. I used to have this old English teacher. He was a Vietnam vet, man, and he still had the same haircut. He was straight military Marine guy, and you could tell he had some fucking mental issues, man. He was on some Sam Kinison shit from like fucking Back to School, man. He was definitely on some old school shit, man. Like you just like this guy's gonna kill someone. You know what I mean? How the hell did this guy get a teaching degree? You know what I mean? Like, wow, he's borderline. To be in that teacher's lounge, a fly on the wall to see what the hell everybody was talking about with that dude. Did he eat alone? You know what I mean? Did everybody stay away from Mr. McGovern? Mr. McGovern might be a little uneasy, so. Yeah. But going back to it, but that's the type of shit that the parents got to deal with now. You know what I mean? It's no more pencils and pencil cases. It's fucking iPads and fucking something Wi-Fi devices and stuff that could get onto their network. And because you better download your homework. Yeah, I just looked for the chat and I was like, wow, there is no chat. I forgot.
Yeah. and that's shit, and that's expensive because I remember even between me and my sisters, my mom kind of going through it and struggling just to get all those school supplies.
Yeah, just to get pencils and erasers.
All that shit that you needed. And so imagine that now you're throwing fucking electronics into it,
Well, I'm sure I don't know if there's maybe some government programs in some of the urban areas that, that they'll, you get like assistance to help buy these products or maybe have them donated and, but I can't see like in the city schools for them to ask all these students, thousands and thousands of students to purchase this stuff. Yeah, they pretty much have them already. But you would think that they don't want the kids to bring these things to school. That's one less thing they're gonna get robbed for. Exactly. That's one less thing that they're gonna be paying attention to their fucking schoolwork with, because here you think they're doing their schoolwork on the iPad, but they're playing their Fortnites and shit like that. They're on their Facebook or they're IGing or Snapchatting.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Pornhubbing.
Yeah, Pornhubbing at 12. Man, imagine we had the internet back in the day, man, growing up. Ooh, if I had the internet when I was growing up, man, I would never busted a nut to Barbara Eden. Shout out to I Dream of Jeannie for anybody that doesn't know who Barbara Eden is. Man. You wait for that. You were sitting home waiting for that one moment when Marianne would pop up on fucking Gilligan's Island. You're like, all right, it's my time. I'm ready. Let me rub this out real quick.
I'm so glad I don't have to fucking deal with none of that shit though, man. I think that's why I
rubbing them out.
No, kids and school and the expense.
I say that too, man. Like I couldn't afford it. And shout out to everybody, had multiple kids and with all this, man. God bless
making it work. Yeah, word up, man.
And still survive. It's still being collectors. You know what I mean? Still being able to collect. Because you think about it. Most families there's two incomes coming in. You get that, and I can't even think about it, man. I could. I'm doing okay for myself by myself, but it'd be nice to have a second income. But I used to tell my ex this. I said, you're crying about kids and you want to have kids and you want to move to the next level. I said, but we could barely take care of ourselves. You learn, you just take care of it. I'm like, look, man, I am not letting a child grow up like I fucking grew up. There's just no way. There's just no way. I cannot sit there and be, that's why my mom died at 42. I'm not going to be dead at 40 because I'm worried about, I don't know.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
No, I hear you, man.
And that's what I tell everybody. That's why I'm stuck in such a arrested development situation with me, where I'm not growing up in a way, and everybody says, well, you're going to be 50 in a few years, and I'm dropping the age right there. And like, you look like you're 30, you act like you're 25. I said, well, I don't have the same stresses that a normal person has with families. I don't have mortgage stresses. I don't have kids stress. What are we going to do with this? You know what I mean? I don't have that normal stress on my mind. I do have my stresses, but it's not that extreme. So I think that's why I'm able to come home and keep my composure, but not stress and not have those extra worries. And I could play video games and watch cartoons and talk to you guys and drink beer. Aerobics and
it's all just finding that balance between the real life and your personal.
And don't get me wrong, this is probably gonna bother me 10 years down the line, where I should have a family, and I may have a family. I'm not, I'm still young. I'm not dead yet. You know what I mean? I don't want to get so decrepit or evil, but it's just like I don't want to beat myself up later on saying like I didn't never had this, or I didn't do that, or I could have did this. And I'm enjoying my time. I'm enjoying what I do, and I'm enjoying.
You never tell yourself I should have.
Yeah, you can't deal with should have.
You can't do that, man, because all you're just gonna drive yourself nuts, and all you do is you reflect on your past and you say, you know what, I did what I wanted. It's the path I chose.
Speaking of past, you think Ant-Man and Wasp is gonna go to the trying to get us back on track here at the Ant-Man and Wasp stuff here. But.
Oh yeah, no. I was gonna ask too, like what did you guys really think of like what's gonna be the outcome here, like from what we saw, like at the end of that?
He's
film?
editing out this whole conversation. He's gonna.
This will be a good way to just kind of wrap it. We'll wrap this. It's a good way to kind of put the tail end on this and kind of like wrap up the talk from the beginning of the podcast. So what do you guys think? And it's cool, dude. Verbally challenged shit. We could go in any fucking direction you want to go. Like I loved all that personal stuff and with the comics and talking old school 80s.
Yeah, usually when I do other shows like this, that's how I get all nostalgic and and I start talking about old and what I like to do as a collector and it just always just comes up that way, and people love to hear that shit, man. Just from us different how us all different people in the realm and just collectors in general and how they can relate to some things. But getting back on the movie, I don't know, man. I really didn't sit down and think about, I don't want to destroy it with a number because it wasn't a bad movie. It was a good movie. I still like the way they had the Three Stooges in there. You know, his buddies are in there and they did a great job. You know, Michael Pena, he did Pena, whatever you want to say. He did a great job again, you know, and with the True Serum stuff, I thought that was funny and witty.
That was funny.
It was nice. You know, he even got a little action in there. He's like, maybe I could get a suit. You know, so, you know, this whole sidekick thing was funny. So I don't want to destroy it because, you know, number wise, but I would probably say it's a solid 7. I would say a 7 where it's not wow, mind blowing, but it wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It was definitely enjoyable. I'll watch it again, but it wasn't something that afterwards I was like, oh wow, holy shit, I'm gonna watch this twice. You know, sometimes you come out of a movie or you watch a movie and you say, man, I'm gonna watch it again. It's just that good. Like I could watch. I think I've watched the Infinity movie. I think I've seen it 6 times, 7 times.
Probably more than that. I've probably seen it. Yeah.
You know, Solo. I've watched that shit a lot. Personally like Solo. I watched it 4 times already. Deadpool 2 once. Last Jedi 3 times maybe since its release. So you know, it's something that I'll watch again. You know, maybe I'll give it another whirl tomorrow. See what's up.
Okay, that's interesting. Nice to hear. What about you, Frogman?
I think it was a good movie, man. I liked it. I'd give it like a 7.5, just like Dust said. I think that it's going to be the major, Ant-Man's going to be the major guy that's going to actually have the key in how to go into the quantum realm and try to find these other people that were lost or go back in time. He's the major piece to the puzzle. I enjoyed all the comedic humor. I enjoyed all the action and everything. It was a good movie. I wouldn't really go back to see it one more time, just like other films in the past. But
you wait for a release?
Yeah, I would wait
for home release.
Yeah, something like that. Because the only ones I've actually seen multiple times is Infinity War, Civil War. I've seen The Winter Soldier several times. Solo. So there's some where you kind of walk out of the theater and you're like, you kind of want to go back to the box office and say, "Can I have another ticket for the next showing?" You know what I mean?
Or you just stick around when the popcorn cleaners come around. You're like, "Leave me alone.
Leave me alone.
I'm staying."
Here's $5. Go away.
Yeah.
But it was a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
I want to agree with you saying that he's going to be a major key in the next one, and it's nice to see it's like a smaller character.
Yeah.
That's might be one of the big pivotal turns for the next movie. It's not like Captain America saving the day or Iron Man coming in or Tony Stark's going to figure it out. It's a piece of the puzzle that's going to be, someone that might be like, oh wow, that really worked well. This guy's he has a place now. He has a place.
I liked it. It was a little guy, man. No pun intended, but
depends on the suit. If his suit wasn't conking out, he would be big guy or little guy.
But to wrap it up for me, man, it was just a great movie. I really enjoyed it, and it's a good 7.5 movie, man. It's not the Black Panther, but it's pretty damn good too. Yeah.
Well, I agree with you guys.
Big on Black Panther myself, but you give it 7.5 ribbits.
Yeah.
The frog.
7.5 lily pads.
There you go. Shout out to Frogs and Flies. Remember that game growing up?
Yeah.
Frogs and Flies.
Frogs and Flies. Frogger, man. I used to play them all.
There was, not to go back in the old school, but Frogs and Flies. It was 2 lily pads, a frog on each side. All you did was jump from one lily pad to another, and as you jumped, you had to stick your tongue out and grab one of the flies in the air. You remember that game?
Yeah.
You played head to head with someone, and I
always lost.
Games. We got to do retro shows, man. We got to do more retro shows. I love retro shows.
Yeah, and I pretty much agree with you guys. I'll give this a solid 7. But it's definitely not something that I want to kind of go out and see again. I'm like a one and done on this. Definitely not in the movies, but if it's something that in the future it's playing on HBO or Cinemax, or if it's on Netflix, I'll check it out. But no huge desire. Like, and even with the first one, same thing. Like, I enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't something that I'm like, not like a Winter Soldier or a Civil War or an Infinity War, where it's like I was blown away and it's like I could watch it multiple times. So
a lot of that has to do with the villains. Like Yellow Jacket was in the first one. Yellow Jacket. Well, Yellow Jacket's supposed to be a hero. That was him later on, taking a new person. It was Yellow Jacket. And that was kind of odd how they put that in there. And then like this one, I wasn't crazy on Ghost. And it really wasn't a villain.
Not at all.
Really wasn't a villain. She was someone
more
that
of
was
a victim.
Victim.
She wasn't a villain, and even like the Walton Goggins gangster dude, fucking that was just being like an annoyance throughout the film. That's all they really were.
Fucking
Dude.
from the Shield.
Love
fucking
that.
horse teeth.
I met
I don't mind
that
that dude.
dude.
That dude's pretty. He's a good actor. I don't mind him. I just want to fucking fix his teeth.
I met him in 2009 when I visited LA with my brother and shit. That was cool. The second day we were there, he was at the mall fucking shopping for sneakers. We were
That's
we got a
wild,
picture.
Wow, dude.
Of course, you and your pictures.
But enjoyed the movie. Just like I said, no desire to go back and see it. And I think it is interesting that you guys say it. I think I will agree with that he's going to be pivotal for the next Avengers movie. And like you said, Dust, he has a place because of what they delved deeper into here, which is that quantum realm and the whole kind of in the mid-credit scene. They did mention a time vortex in the quantum realm, and I think they wouldn't say that for no reason. You know what I'm saying? So they threw that line in there for a very specific reason. So I think, like you guys said, he is going to have a big part to play.
Yeah. There was a reason why they mentioned a lot of things that they mentioned, and you know, there's out of nowhere they're talking about this shit. So
yeah, I think he's going to be one of the reasons why they get a lot of these people back.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't think everybody that thinks like all these heroes and stuff are dead, man. No,
man, hell no.
Before the snap, maybe, but after the snap, no.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see how it all turns out, man. I like that meme that was going around with it's Bucky being frozen, and it's like, just wake me up when Avengers 4 comes out. I don't want to fucking wait.
What's the release? When are they doing that? Next summer?
It's next year, yeah, like next April or early May, so it's not too bad.
So they're gonna do it around the same time, and that's weird for them to come out. That's why I thought, because it was coming out so quickly, I thought it was gonna be under the Cap moniker. You know what I mean? You remember how they did Civil War, but Civil War was basically an Avengers movie.
Yeah. So because they filmed these back to back. So
funny thing that Captain America character is not re-signing his contract anymore.
Yeah, a bunch of them are. A
bunch of them,
yeah. So I think Cap is done, man, and he's one of my favorite characters there in the Marvel.
Someone's dying. Someone's dying. Yeah. It's gonna be there's
OG Avengers
that are not gonna be around, and I think Cap is gonna be one of them. I thought at first like it would be Stark, taking that sacrifice, but I think you're gonna see.
But you know what, bro? Even if Stark was to die, bro, he'd come back as an IA or whatever the fuck, like Friday or whatever. So.
Well, that just opens it up to so if they continue with like the comic line with, I think it would be fucking awesome as Bucky taking on the Captain Monitor. I mean, I don't think Falcon is a strong enough character to pull it off.
No, it has
because
to be
Falcon
Bucky.
became Captain America in one of the books, after, but Bucky became Cap. I think, but then they were talking about the whole, was it the Wolf, Silver Wolf, whatever the fuck it was,
the White Wolf.
White Wolf now. Yeah. He's going the White Wolf direction. I'm like, where is that going? I mean, I don't know. And you can see Rhodes taking up. If Rhodes is still around to take the Iron Man moniker up, like he did in the comic, that would be awesome. Also, but is that a strong enough character to carry another trilogy of movies, to say? Because it would be the next round, there would be another trilogy of single movies. Would it be strong enough to carry on a trilogy?
I doubt it, just because he's been supporting, like in these other, in the first 3 Iron Man films. So I just don't see them going in that direction. Like, I think they'll just end it. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, I think they said Mark Ruffalo, those 3. And Chris Hemsworth. So the main 4, like Avengers, they are not renewed.
The first wave. Yeah.
So
and it sucks that we never got to see our proper Hulk. But I think they did a really good job putting little small Hulk stories in all these movies. Giving that element, giving that little bit. And I really think he's going to have a huge part in the next one. We're definitely going to see a smart Banner Hulk. You know what I mean? I definitely. I think that's going to be the problem. We may even see him from things that I've been looking online and reading some rumors that he will have the gauntlet. So
yeah, I heard that too.
I don't know if he's taking it from Thanos, or they're going to use this time traveling thing to go back and get stones from a different reality, or they're going to. I don't know. It's up in the air, especially with all this time traveling and multiple universe thing now. I did hear that it's going to be Smart Hulk. And you can see where they're moving with that. And it'd be awesome if they did that. But I would love to see a Mr. Fix-It storyline. That would be awesome too.
Yeah.
When he was Grey Hulk.
That's, unfortunately, yeah.
I don't think we're going to see
him
being a gangster bouncer Shylock from Vegas anytime soon.
Yeah, I would love that though. But just because of the rights issues, you can't get those more personal stories with the Hulk.
But I think they're doing a really good job with what they're doing.
Oh yeah, just incorporating it, in these Avengers films and the way they did it with Thor. They're doing the best they can with.
I don't think Ragnarok would have been as good if fucking Hulk wasn't in it.
Yeah,
I agree.
And they went with the whole planet. They had the whole Planet Hulk hints, little homage to the Planet Hulk stuff.
So basically, what Stark saw in Age of Ultron, that's a possibility that might come to fruition when he saw everybody die.
Oh yeah.
With Scarlet
Witch, the Scarlet Witch, yeah.
That might come into a reality if all these people are out and their contracts are done and they're gonna kill off their characters. Basically, Tony Stark is gonna see everybody.
I don't think they're gonna kill them all off, but they'll end it like retiring, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, like we're done.
And then, but look at this with Hawkeye now. What's his name?
Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy Renner. He just signed on to play Detective Twitch in the new Spawn spinoff. So he's gonna be in that movie. He's gonna be in the new Spawn spinoff, the new Spawn movie.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that said that's not re-signed either. So after this next one, he's done.
Do you blame him? He never got any.
He never got a shot. Yeah, he never really got a good shot.
I mean, he did. Well, he had plenty of good shots in the movie.
He was shafted in the first Avengers, being brainwashed for most of the movie, and I dug him in the second one. Though they gave him that little kind of story arc with the family.
The backstory. I think that was them saying, we're gonna give you a little bit more.
We need to hook you up. Yeah.
He never.
I don't think he's someone that could pull his own single, and I don't think Black Widow could pull her own movie either.
I think they're planning that. Yeah, they're planning that.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Like you said, testing the waters with this Ant-Man and the Wasp film. This is the first time that a female character has gotten equal billing with a male hero. Like I've seen that.
I would say a little bit more because she was more in the movie or had more things to do in the movie than fucking Ant-Man did.
Oh yeah, like she kicked ass. Like the character was great. I think the costume looked good. What they had her doing, like she was a win, like for sure.
Yeah.
Turned him into a schlup.
Yeah, but just as far as like just the billing in the title though, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then
that's why I said it should have been the Wasp and the Ant-Man.
The Wasp and the Ant-Man. Yeah.
And then Captain Marvel's going to be the studio's first time that it's actually a female headlining a film, and then I guess Black Widow. That's why they're working on Black Widow as well. So
so you can see them testing the waters a little bit. Yeah. They're really smart over there.
They're taking it in that direction. So. It's pretty cool to see, and just can't wait. These guys, I was asking these guys if they thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was going to be like another win, and I think this is another win for Marvel, just not on the level of Black Panther and Avengers, but it can't be. It's almost not fair to put Ant-Man, that character, on that type of level, but I feel like the movie was still enjoyable, so another win, and looking forward to what they got coming down with Captain Marvel, and of course the next Avengers movie.
Yeah, they're on point, man. They're really on point right now, man. And then we got this whole the Fox merger thing that's hopefully that comes about, straightens out, and that might be the next push for the next wave, bringing in your Fantastic Fours and reintroducing the X-Men. And I know you want to wrap up here, but do you think it's wise for them to start a new X-Men team or try to pick and choose from the whatever they have already? You know what I mean? It's really hard, like how how
do you start again?
With Fox failing so badly with the latest X-Men releases, it's like, and you're like, it's finally getting a new cast and it's going in a new direction. And I'm like, but things that I've been reading about the Phoenix movie, and I'm just like,
I heard it's been bad. Yeah, I heard it's been train wreck.
They're shelving the fucking New Mutants movie because they want to wait to see what the merger's looking like, that it might come out under the Disney moniker. So it's like, oh man, what the fuck? It's, you got to go and sell shit to fuck everybody up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was okay with the two split Fox and Disney universes. I was okay with it. I've come to terms with it, but
I just don't want Marvel Studios to rush and try to incorporate these characters. As soon as this deal becomes a done deal and it actually happens, they need to take the time to incorporate these characters correctly, and they have to start fresh. They can't use these old actors.
Oh yeah. Here's an idea that I heard that they were kicking around. This is of course in the rumor mill with all these YouTube videos and whatnot, that for Fantastic Four, they're actually going to have the Fantastic Four take place in the 60s.
Oh wow.
So you know how we're talking about how Ant-Man was around in the early days and how S.H.I.E.L.D. started, that the whole Fantastic Four thing actually starts in the 60s. So that's one way that you don't have to merge it in with the new universe, but it's part of the universe. You know what I mean? Like being that it's a book from the 60s, so it would be kind of like a retro. They were heroes were around then type deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, but again,
that would be cool.
It's the internet. It's kind of different. It's different.
Yeah, I actually heard something similar with like the mutants, and introducing them into the MCU. That they would kind of do it like retroactively, kind of similar to what you just mentioned. Like they were going to be like, hey, they were always around, but now like you're just hearing about them, and then they're going to start getting into their backstory. But then it's not going to be like it's a new thing. Like we're just getting mutants now in the universe. Yeah. They're going to try to work the story like that. The
government's been keeping them under wraps.
Yeah,
exactly.
Keeping it
quiet.
And they can stop saying like enhanced and stuff, because that's how they kind of get around it now in the movies. Now they say
I would like a Marvel timepiece movie, because I liked what they did with Cap.
Yep.
The first Cap. I always loved the first Cap.
Yeah, I agree.
To do like a 60s version of that, of like the Fantastic Four.
I think that'd be cool, and you could have like different. Yeah, you have that old school vibe, but you could still have like the all the fantastic technology and stuff like that.
They're talking with this the Captain Marvel movie, bringing the Skrulls in.
Yeah, they are.
Then you bring the Skrulls in. You need the modern Fantastic Four that could tie in the modern Fantastic Four down the line. I could see them like their big event, and their next big event be when the alien invasion, when the Skrulls come and invade Earth.
Yeah, and also the Captain Marvel movie is based solely in the past.
Yeah, it's going to be
it's just towards the end of the movie that it could come in.
Yeah,
So
maybe their big push for their next big final battle for the or final storyline for their next wave will be the Kree Skrull War, or when the Skrulls invaded Earth. But that kind of like feels like what they were trying to do with the first Avengers with the Chitauri. I always thought like the Chitauri should have been the Skrulls, invading the Earth, because if you remember, the old school comic lines like that. So it'd kind of be like, I don't know, too repetitive of another alien race, coming and invading the world. But
you don't want it to feel like the Avengers all over again.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but it's like that was a huge thing in the comics also,
I think they'll get there eventually, especially if they lock up the rights. I think they'll do it proper.
What Marvel needs to do, and this is my opinion, is build stronger villains.
For sure.
Build more stronger, memorable villains. I think Thanos was the first villain that I could say was memorable and like, wow,
Loki.
he's a villain.
I'll give them Loki.
Loki was okay, but Loki played the line.
And he became an anti-hero towards the end. Yeah, that's true.
Everybody else from all these other movies is like,
they're throwaways.
Yeah.
They're throwaways, one and done. I loved it in Avengers when we saw Red Skull, because I always had that feeling like, man, he didn't look like he died. He looked like he got teleported away. And I'm glad they followed up on that there.
Well, here's another thing is like if they're done with the Captain America movies, they tie that loose end. You know what I mean? Because you always thought that Red Skull will come back again. Red Skull is going to be a villain, a villain of Captain America, and then like now we know what happened to him. You know what I mean? That loose end is done. The nerds are happy.
Hard to do. That's
we could talk about this all fucking night, man. This is what's cool when you get some old school comic fans and guys that appreciate the new stuff that's coming out, and just Marvel fans in general. Good fucking conversation.
You could hear it in the conversation, the way we're going back and forth. We love this shit, we could go all night.
And I think with just three guys right here right now, we have more time that we could actually, when you do a bigger show, you can't get your words out of it fast. Get everything out.
I have no concern about Marvel's future, because if they've knocked it out from 2008 to 2018, they've knocked it out of the park. They've done some fantastic work, man.
10 years.
10 years, bro. So I don't really worry about their future. The only thing is, I'll agree with Jose, is when it comes to the X-Men, is just please take your sweet
time. Do it right. Do it right. Don't just try to fucking throw them in the next big event.
Yeah.
Please, let's not see fucking Wolverine in Avengers 4, please.
Eventually, you'll see them all together in a certain type of movie, and it'll be fucking phenomenal, man. So,
can't wait to see what they do, man. So, all right, we can start wrap it up on that note. So, want to thank you guys for joining me here on Verbally Challenged. Before we head out, let's just get some where you at. So, Frogman, I'll start with you.
Eddie Frogman in the Facebook groups. You can catch me on Plastic Fanatics every now and then, and also on some of the shows on the Realm. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man. Jose, I had a great time, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Dust. Where can people
man.
find you at?
Dustmightz on Instagram, Eddie Dustmightz in the Facebook groups. Enter the Realm Monday nights this week doing the podcast tour. So if you're doing a podcast and you want to guest, I got 2 more nights. Well, this won't air until Monday, so I won't have any more nights. It's not live. It's so hard. It's weird when you do live shows all the time, and then when you do something that's not live, and like when I do Cobra Law, I'm like talking like it's like we're talking now, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't coming out for another 5 days.
You got to pretend it's last week.
Yeah, exactly. But, thanks for having me on, man. I really think that I had enjoyed myself. We had some good conversation going here. I know I kind of took the train different ways here and there, but I like to just open up and be myself and be honest when I talk about nostalgic shit, man. So it gets you guys thinking and gets the listeners thinking to different times, And I like getting the comments and people hit me up. You're like, what you were talking about on that night, it really hit home. I'm like, yeah, man, that's it. We're all the same.
That's right.
We're all the same.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the memories. So I thank you. And once again, guys, thank you for being on. As I always say, you guys have an open invite to be on every single episode. So,
thank you.
Hope to have you guys back soon. All right.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, I hope you guys really enjoyed that. And once again, I want to thank Dustmightz and Frogman for hopping on and having a conversation here with me on Verbally Challenged. And I extend that invite to anybody out there listening, just as I extended it to them. If you're out there listening, if you're a listener of the show, if you're a friend of mine, you're always welcome here to join me in a conversation here on Verbally Challenged. Just hit me up. You can find me all over social media at HarikenBx. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox Live, and the PlayStation Network. All over social media at HarikenBx. If you want to follow a little bit more of my personal page, you can follow me also on Instagram at Diaz4Fitness. Before we head out, guys, remember to check out Realm of Collectors. We have a website, realmofcollectors.com. We're on Facebook as a group, Realm of Collectors, and we're on Instagram at Realm of Collectors. Pull up a chair to the cool table. It's a hub for like-minded podcasts, including Enter the Realm and Breaking the Mold, Mondays and Tuesdays, respectively, on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. The only show to watch on Saturday nights, Plastic Fanatics, the late night aftercast on Victory Saber 77's YouTube channel. Those 3 shows are also available in audio format on iTunes and Google Play. The rest of the shows on the cool table are Shattercast Uncut, Nerd Rage Radio, Toy Detox, Stasis Lock, Building Up to It, Fresh Communication, Beer and Bolts 40K, and 8 Weeks. You can find the cool table on Facebook, along with links to all these other great podcasts. All right, guys, that's it. That's the episode. Thank you for the download. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate it. We'll be back soon, real soon with the next episode, all right? So please take care, stay safe, and peace out.